Hey kids, welcome back. This is Coach Gillespie at STEAM Academy, and today we're talking about code.org, Unit 3, Lesson 20 in Computer Science Discoveries, and this is the mini project side scroller. So up to this point, you've been learning how to make sprites, interact with one another. You've been learning how to set the code so that the sprites detect each other so that things can happen, and all of this is leading up to the final project, Lesson 27, which is where you make a game. So in Lesson 20 mini project, you're making a type of side scroller game. So let's look at your question of the day. How can the new types of sprite movement and collision detection be used to create a game? So we're going to put some skills to the test in this mini project. So you're going to use what you've learned about collision detection and setting velocity to create simple side scroller games. After looking at a sample side-scroller game, you're going to brainstorm what sort of side-scroller game you want to make, and then you're going to use a structured process to program that game in Code Studio, very similar to what you've done before. You have a side-scroller rubric that's going to be posted for you in Google Classroom. This is just like all your other mini projects. It gives you a snapshot of how you're going to be graded and what's expected of you. Keep in mind that your goal ultimately is to hit for extensive evidence. That's always the best option, extensive evidence. And then let's see what else you have here. You have the project scroller guide that's also going to be posted for you. I would like for you to fill this out, please, for this Lesson 20 mini project. Again, if you choose to not type things, then I will accept a Flipgrid video where you explain to me what's going on from this paper, but we're going to use this paper to guide our process during this mini lesson. So you're going to have some feedback here from a sample game that you're going to take a look at, and you're going to plan your game based off of the sample game that you have. So notice in the sample game that we're about to take a look at, they have a frog, a mushroom, and a fly. It's a player, an obstacle, and a target. So how are you going to modify this to make it your own? What types of sprites are you going to use? That's what we're looking for here, okay? Where am I at here? I have another tab that has an exemplar. Here it is. I downloaded it as a PDF. I knew it was here somewhere. All right, so this is an exemplar of what I mean by project guide, okay? So notice in this example, they talk about the things that they're going to keep the same from the example game. They're going to keep the background moving, sprite jumping, and they're going to keep the score. Things they're going to change is they're going to make the background the ocean and change the frog eating flies to fish eating plants, all right? There's a spot for you to give me information on what you're not sure how to do yet. Then notice for their sprite choices, they decided to go with fish, rocks, and plants, and they're going to find all those images in the library in Code Studio. So they're not necessarily going to go out to the internet and download any additional images. For background, they decided to write out what's going to be there instead of draw, and that's fine. So they're talking about a blue background with round circles for bubbles. Rocks can be gray and big ellipses and circles. Plants can be green and small ellipses and circles. They talk about their sprite movement and interactions. So they talk about the program of their game, and then there's reflection questions at the end. And these reflection questions I will post to you in a Google form inside Google Classroom. All right, so a lot of information there to digest. Let's take a look at what your levels look like inside the Code Studio here, inside code.org. All right, level 2 gives you the jumping frog game, and I'm not very good at it. Oh, I'm supposed to jump. Okay, so it has you play this game for a while, all right? And you're going to discuss with people around you or people inside the chat, if you're virtual, what you like about the game, what you don't like about the game. Do you see what happens when I hit a mushroom? Interesting. I feel like this should be a little bit more Mario-ish, and if I land on the top of the mushroom, I should get some points. Something. Okay? All right, so play the game for a while. Oh, I lost. Okay. Play the game for a while, see how you like it, see how the mechanics work. Start thinking about what you are going to do for your game so that you can fill out that project project guide for me. All right, so let's see what we got for level 3. Inside lesson 20, mini project side scroller. So once again, you see that infinity symbol with the arrow. That means everything we do from here on out is going to be tied into our project. So level 3, draw your background. All right, focus on that background, decide what you want it to look like. Level 4, looks like you're going to create your sprites. So again, decide what kind of sprites are going to be in this game. How's the mechanics going to work? What's going on here with your sprites? Level 5 is where you add in your controllers. Yep, player controls. The up arrow should make the player jump. There are 3 parts to jumping. Jump up when the key is pressed, go down when you're high enough, and don't fall through the ground. Okay, very important that we stay on the game. And interestingly enough, think back to your Flappy Bird days. How much of this was applied to Flappy Bird? Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so level 6 talks about looping. Obstacle, mushroom, and the target fly need to loop back to the right of the screen once they go too far. Find the code comment that says looping. Add a conditional that uses the obstacle sprite X property to check whether it has moved off the screen. Alrighty, so lots of things to do here in lesson 6 with looping to learn how to loop. Lesson 7, sprite interactions. Talking about how the scoring, basically. So how did I get the score? Well, it had to do with sprite interactions. When the frog touched the fly, something happened. When the frog touched the mushroom, something else happened. That's kind of how I died. All right. So take a look at the do this. Let the do this be your guide. Then finally, level 8, we've got scoring and scoreboard. This is where you tie those interactions into actual points on a scoreboard that shows up on the screen. And then last but not least, level 9, just like all the other mini projects, you review your game at the end. Okay, so at the end here, everything you've done from 3 through 8 actually, will show up here. Should be able to hit this run button. See a nice, beautiful game designed here. So instead of frogs and mushrooms and flies, you're going to have something else. Maybe it's Among Us people running around. Maybe it's a dog chasing a cat. Maybe it's a cat chasing a mouse. Maybe it's a robot shooting down stars. Who knows? Sky's the limit here, guys. So I'm excited to see what you're going to make. Super excited still to have your colleagues in class play the games that you've built. I'm really excited for this lesson, all right? And I think it should probably take you, honestly, I'm thinking it might take you a good solid week, partly because I know y'all, and y'all will get analysis paralysis and spend a lot of time picking out your sprites and things. But please, 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 do not forget to fill out that project guide in Google Classroom, fill out that Google form for reflection questions, and make sure you got all that done by the due date within the class, okay? If you have any questions, email me or come see me. And with that, good luck and have fun with Lesson 20.